Final act, Noriko Kurosawa. When Mother killed herself, she didn't die. Well, she died, but not really. It's funny thought. Everything that she was, everything that made her Asuna Kurosawa, left this planet that day. Her body remained, but her soul had departed. She got sent away to a care facility, and I didn't see her very often after that. On the rare occasions I visited her, I would always notice her eyes no longer looked like mine. I hate her for what she did to our family. Yuriko and I were only children at the time, but Mother hung herself up from the ceiling and made us watch. She encouraged us to kick the chair out from underneath her. We didn't understand what she was doing. She told us it was a game. So we kicked the chair and we laughed. And Mother laughed, and then her neck snapped and she stopped laughing. That light in her eyes that I once shared with her was extinguished instantly. Yuriko screamed and I screamed, and Mother just wouldn't move, and we couldn't get her down from the ceiling, and eventually Yuriko remembered how to call for an ambulance, and the paramedics arrived and we were taken away. And after that I was completely fucked up, because you don't just walk away from something like that and act like nothing happened. I spent years trying to force the painful memories of her attempted suicide out of my mind, but I didn't exactly cope with it very well. How could I? I became terrified of the world and became used to locking myself inside and wasting away. Yuriko dealt with it a little better than me. I can't say her rebellious behavior was the right way to cope, but it had to have been healthier than staying inside for weeks at a time. By the time I reached senior high school, I think I had mostly gotten past everything. The vision of Mother hanging from the ceiling in front of me didn't haunt my dreams. The sound of our laughter intermingled with screaming didn't always ring in my ears. Aoi helped me through a lot of it. She shared all of her problems with me, and it made me feel a bit better, like maybe my life wasn't so bad. Aoi's life was kind of messed up. Her father was arrested for various crimes and didn't spend much time in her life. When we were about ready to graduate, he came back to town and violently attacked her. She called me and told me that he killed her. But she killed him too, so it was all going to be okay. Her words, not mine. I never understood what she meant when she said she was dead. I think graduating put some distance between us, so I never truly tried to figure out her words. My own problems came back to haunt me once I moved out of home. I became completely distracted and almost forgot about Aoi. The apartment I moved into, I should have known that the smell of mold wasn't normal. I should have paid better attention to the shoddy repair work that had been performed on the wall. I should have just walked away and found somewhere else to live. But that apartment, I suppose that's where I started to lose control of my life, and that's exactly the reason why I need to return there. Several days later.
Looks the same as always.
I'm not looking forward to climbing the rest of the stairs up the apartment. I can hardly walk at all, even on flat ground. But I have to do this. I can't let stitches and bandages and painkillers distract me from getting inside. I thought she'd live. I don't know how long I was in the hospital for. None of my personal effects were with me when I woke up. I had no phone, no purse, no handbag. But the doctors monitored me for a few days and then let me go, even though I told them I had nowhere to return to. They just threw me onto the street. They couldn't even tell me what happened to the girl who attacked me. They had no idea if she had been arrested or not. I have a feeling she's still out there. Regardless, I'm here now. My wound is apparently on the mend, and I don't have any signs of infection. All I have to focus on is the ascent in front of me. Each step I climb is more difficult to conquer than the last. Each time I raise my leg, I experience a searing agony along the length of my stomach. More than once, I have to stop and check that my stitches haven't torn wide open. When I'm sure my flesh is more or less intact, I continue scaling the mountain. My head throbs and beads of sweat drip down my face. When I hit the landing on the level below my own apartment, I spy a familiar face.
Noriko?
Momo Ogawa, the daughter of Kenji Ogawa, the man I framed in order to maintain my
Hey,
innocence.
Dad!
Her panicked cry isn't the reaction I was suspecting. Her father is exiting their apartment just as Momo cries out. He does a double take before glaring at me.
Surprised to see you here.
I can't quite get a grasp of his tone. Is he happy to see me or angry? Does he even know that I'm the reason he was arrested? Well, I'm assuming that the police let him go fairly quickly. After all, he's here at home, and not rotting in a cell.
Your landlord said you disappeared.
Yeah, kind of.
Are you okay? You look like...
His gaze turns to the hospital tag adorning my wrists, and the package of spare bandages I have slung over my shoulder.
You know, you disappeared right around the time the police...
Huh?
Forget it. It's nothing.
I have a bad feeling that he's beginning to piece something together. If it works out that I'm behind the false arrest,
Sorry,
then...
I should go.
Yeah. Come on, Momo.
Bye, Noriko! Bye, Momo.
The girl waits excitedly as her father leads her downstairs. I should feel relieved that he's safe, but honestly I just feel guilty. My actions, Corpse Girl's actions, put a lot of strain on that little family. I have to keep going. The last flight of stairs is torture on my battered body, but I persevere and reach the front door of my apartment. How am I nowadays? I am okay. I'm hoping work picks up now that kids will be back in school next week. It's at this moment that I remember I don't have any keys to get in. Shit. Out of desperation, I turn the handle and the door opens. Either I left the place unlocked or the landlord has been inside and forgot to lock up. I'm just thankful that I can keep moving forward. The curtains are open, bathing the living room in a soft light. Home. No, that's not right. This isn't my home. This isn't Noriko's home. This is Corpse Girl's home. I never really lived here. I simply existed within these walls. The real Noriko was held hostage by an omnipotent presence sealed in this home. The things here are just as I left them so long ago. It's a comforting feeling, but at the same time it sends chills down my spine. It's time to move on. I stride with purpose toward the kitchenette and slide open one of the drawers. Inside is a small mallet with a metal head. It's a treasure I acquired from the garden shed of the apartment grounds back when I first moved in. It's not very large, but that suits me just fine. I don't have strength to wield anything bigger than this. Bring it to bear is still a great deal of effort. I grip the handle with both hands and lift the deceptively heavy tool. Equipped with this tiny weapon of destruction, I slowly lurch through the hallway. I make my way to the very end, where a blank, stark white wall faces me. The paint on the wall is peeling like it was slapped on without care. The plaster is cracked like it was applied by an amateur. And the lingering stench of mold is at its strongest when I stand in front of this wall. I bring the mallet down with both arms, the heavy metal head I crash into the wall with as much force as I can muster. The struggle of bearing the mallet is taking its toll on my wound. I feel the stitches in my stomach threatening to snap and break. I can't stop here. I can't stop until I've crushed this wall and revealed the glittering content of a trove hidden inside. Another swing and another crash against plaster. A cry of pain and another hole in the wall. I scream and swing the hammer and groan and slash and weep, and the wall crumbles beneath my sheer force of will. White dust clouds my vision and provokes me into a coughing frenzy. That's not how drywall works. I know, I've torn down much drywall having worked in it. When my eyes and throat clear up, I throw them out to the carpet and venture forward. I clamber through the human-sized hole in the wall and find myself within a secret catch on the other side. Yep. The stench assaulting my nostrils no longer disguises itself as mold. It's a fetid malodor of rotten decay. The inimitable trademark of a decomposing corpse. I spent so long fooling myself into believing it was nothing concerning. Spent so long pretending that the corpse did not live within the walls of this apartment. The truth is, this corpse pinned to the wall is the root of all evil. It's an infinite fount of misery and despair and malice and death and hatred. This is Corpse Girl.
Hello, old friend.
The corpse does not reply. Tell a corpse is no longer entirely accurate. It has become little more than a skeleton, an osseous edifice and mockery, but tribute. It wouldn't be holding itself up like that if it didn't have any skin or tendon, if it all rotted away. It's more than just a skeleton. Tribute to the unyielding sands of time. Bone and flesh and hair and fabric blend. Okay, thank you. Okay, it just corrected itself. Entwine, so it is still a corpse. Entwine and meld together to form a sickening representation of human beauty. I used to think this body was pure perfection back when the corpse was more or less intact. It was an image of a gorgeous, vibrant young woman. I aspired to become just as beautiful. Slender, elegant, graceful, with pale skin and dark eyes. Looking at her now, it's clear to see that I was deceived. The form before me is not beautiful. It's revolting. I shaped myself in the image of death, truly believing I was transcending mortal beauty. This corpse controlled me for so long. This corpse manipulated me and made me want to become just like it. Somewhere along the way, my own identity began to dissolve, and I started to believe that I had become this rotting carcass, this pallid bag of flesh. The spell has been broken. I don't know if it's because of my near-death experience or the clarity of mind inspired by an intoxicating cocktail of painkillers, but I no longer want to associate myself with the Corpse Girl. I want to be myself, just Noriko. I no longer want to kill in the name of this blasphemous effigy.
Girl, I found you here, trapped in this storage closet, just over a year ago. And you stole my life from me.
Looking at her now, I can't help but wonder what the hell went through my mind when I let her possess me. Why did discovering the corpse have such profound, lasting effect on my psyche? Because you needed meds? I shut my eyes as a wave of dizziness threatens to overcome me. Staggering in the near darkness, I struggle to regain my balance. I had blocked out the memory of discovering this corpse for so long, I refused to acknowledge it ever happened. But the crystallized fragments of that forgotten memory have finally breached the surface of my consciousness. I can finally recall the events, thanks to the clarity brought about by my current state of mind. Let's just get deeper. It happened several days after I moved into this apartment. The musty smell of mold lured me to the wall at the end of the corridor, the wall that had been hastily patched up and covered with white plaster, and paint. I wondered about the source of the smell. I figured it might be a leak, a busted pipe that needed repair. Instead of calling upon the landlord for assistance, I took matters into my own hand. Perhaps I was inspired by my newfound independence. I had just become a free young woman, living on my own for the first time. Perhaps I was just stupid. I located him out in the garden shed. I tore away the wall. I found Corpse Girl, and in that moment fell to my knees. Someone had hung this corpse upon the wall and decorated the storage room with books and photographs. The sight of the dead woman bearing down on me instantly unearthed the buried memories of my mother's attempted suicide. The pain and despair that I had repressed for so long found its way out of my mouth and formed an unholy scream. I think the fear of that discovery and the subsequent revival of subdued memories caused me to slip in and out of consciousness. I was paralyzed by fear and my entire body was racked with pain. Looking back now, I feel like I must have spent days lying in a heap on the floor of the storage closet. Days spent within a dreary haze of dread and depression and distress. Days spent at the feet of that hanging corpse that I began to look upon and idolize. Days spent in a lull of fever dream, surrounded by photographs on the wall of all manner of corpses. Days and days of my soul and identity slipping between my fingers. Something must have eventually cracked inside me, because I remember getting to my feet and repairing the wall. I don't know how I did it, but I patched it up and painted over it and vacuumed up all the dust and debris from the carpet. And then the memory of the entire incident just vanished from my mind. The only relic I retrieved from the storage space was a single book, a heavy tome that must have tumbled out of the closet during my delirium. Fosse Photography, a comprehensive history of photo manipulation. Now, Corpse Girl doesn't look the way she used to. Uncovering her today hasn't shocked me into submission like it did all the time ago. Am I stronger now? No, not really. But I was prepared to face her this time, and now I'm here to bury her. As I calmly assess how difficult it will be to retrieve her from her position, my eyes fall upon the dozen of photos plastered haphazardly across the wall. Photographs of nameless bodies printed with an instant camera. There must be 10 or 20 or 30 corpses across the entire series of images. I don't recognize any of them. That's the only comfort I can take from viewing the images, the comfort that I'm not the one who decorated this room with these macabre visuals. Whoever put these photos up is undoubtedly the same person responsible for hanging Corpse Girl on the wall. All the photos look so real, and all the corpses are in such normal situations. There's an image of a decomposing body sitting on a bench waiting on a train platform. He's wearing a suit like any ordinary businessman. Another image is of a headless corpse at a dinner table dressed in their Sunday best. They are sharing a candlelight meal. Corpses going about their daily life. It's eerily reminiscent of something else I've encountered before. What was it? A book I read? Instinctively, my eyes dart to the piles of books toppled over in the corner of the storage room. There are dozens of duplicate books, as if they were abandoned here by their own author. I crouch and dust off the cover of the book at the top of the pile. Dazed by the Dead by Noble Sinclair. Noble Sinclair. Underneath 10 more copies of that volume is a different book with a familiar cover. Strange Flower. I know this. The very same book that Kojiro lent me so long ago, except the book here is somewhat worn. Well-read library is not some worn, well-read library copy. It's in pristine condition, save for the layer of dust coating it. There are nearly a dozen copies of this book. Depending on this room, there really shouldn't be much dust if it has no access to air. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it has access to air. It's in pristine condition, save for a few layers of dust coating it. There are nearly a dozen copies of this book as well. Someone intentionally abandoned these books here, and the fact that they are accompanying so many photos of corpses, not to mention this Miss Corpse Girl herself, is no coincidence. These books and photos, as well as a copy of Fosse Photography I found here so long ago. All of this somehow embedded itself into my consciousness and inspired me to start Corpse Girl's website. I'm sure of it. This room, this fucking cursed room, ruined my life and corrupted my mind. And I have to wonder if somebody planned it all. Did somebody leave all these things here in order to break whoever entered? That's probably a far-fetched concept, but I'm desperate to place the blame on somebody, anybody but myself.
Enough.
The light slapped to my face snapped me out of my inner rambling. It's time to bury Corpse Girl and put this life behind me once and for all. I can't really atone for the things I've done this last year. Hell, I don't actually feel like I need to atone. It's not guilt that's eating me up inside, but at the very least I can move on. I carefully remove the restraints tying Corpse Girl to the wall and feel the weight of her rotted body collapse against my own frail form. Her head leans against my shoulder, and for a brief moment I pause and let her rest against me. I run a hand through what's left of her hair. She's been through a lot. We both have. We're both Corpse Girl. Well, we both used to be. Now we're just empty husks with no purpose. If we're not Corpse Girl, we'll probably be forgotten, lost to time and memory. For once in my life, I'm looking forward to being forgotten.